what are some ideas for how the concept or the idea of the jaw harp originally came about? Now, I do not claim to be an authority figure on the jaw harp or even a historian for that matter, but I am an enthusiast, and the question I think at least deserves a good discussion and a good ponder, especially because today I got a comment on one of our videos. This is Elanatha, and he is commenting on the Indian folk stories on the exact origin of the jaw harp. Now, the jaw harp dates back several thousand years in Asia. I think the oldest archaeological finds of them have been found in the Altai region of Russia. However, they're found all over Asia and different parts of the world, and they're very ancient musical instruments that nobody knows the exact origin. But at Elanatha, is commenting on the Indian folk stories. He is saying here, I'm just going to condense this down. It's a very long paragraph, but let's just ponder this. Elanatha is saying, the morsing can be traced back over 1,500 years. They banged on the fishbone and a musical sound was produced. Though the exact origin in the Indian subcontinent is not well documented, with most ancient accounts being derived from folk tales as a secondary source. It is found mainly in South India, Rajasthan, and some parts of Assam. Now, let's just talk about it. After I read that, I'm like, oh my gosh, I love that comment so much. Let's just delve into the concept of, is this plausible? Now, I am not a historian, and I don't know all the history, and I don't have all the historical articles out there. So if anyone out there has more to add to this, or disagrees, or whatever their thoughts are, or if you have individual folk stories from your area about how this instrument came about, please comment below, because anything you've heard about it, especially from folk tales or oral tradition or from a history book in your country, that is valid. Comment that below. We should discuss it. But anyways, let's talk about if you were to just try to play a fishbone. When I first was thinking about this morning, because I got this comment last night and read it last night, and I started thinking about it last night, and then I was thinking more about it this morning. If you just had a fishbone, my first thought was, oh, if you had like a fish rib bone. Now, I'm not going to go out and kill a fish. However, in the future, I might if I'm around some fishermen. Whenever I fish, I like to let fish go. But if I'm around some fishermen and they have some larger fish with big rib bones, I might procure them and boil them and sanitize them and try to see if I can make a harp out of it to further explore this. But let's just think of a fishbone. A fishbone is going to be flexible but slightly stiff. Like here's a couple Indian harps. He was talking about the morsing from South India. Very, very stiff reed, higher pitched sound. Here is a gogona from Assam in India. Now, they do have a full frame, and it kind of reminds me of pictures I've seen of that 3,000-year-old jaw harp find in the Altai region of Russia. It was made from a horse rib bone. There we have another recurrence of the oldest archaeological find that has been found of these instruments, of it being made from a bone. And it was carved not unlike this, where it was carved and there was a slit and a little cutout here. And I'll try to place a link above if I can find that article. Boom, might be there. But here is an instrument similar to that, although this one's made out of bamboo. But what would happen if because the concept of a jaw harp with a flexible tongue and a frame to go clear around that, that's a pretty advanced concept. And if you've ever made a jaw harp like I have, or if you have ever tried to fix a jaw harp, you will recognize how refined of a process that is. Well, let's just think back if it was more primitive than that. What if we just had a fish rib bone, and I don't have a fish rib bone, and you just played it in front of your mouth? Would it make much noise? Let's give it a listen. Kind of. A little bit. Let's try another stick. I can kind of form an embouchure with my lips wrapping around there and manipulate that a little bit. Now, a jaw harp reed, if I were to put a jaw harp reed, this is a reed made for this exact length of jaw harp. If I were to put it in front of my mouth, not much is happening. There's no embouchure area. What if we were to try this? If you were to put a fish rib bone against a block of wood. Now I have seen, this is a concept from a video I've seen. I don't know if I can put another card, but I'll try to put it up above here. If not, I'm going to link it down in the description below. This was a video of someone, it looked like it was from Africa, perhaps, where they had taken a large leaf and rolled it, and then was taking a stick and thwacking it against her. So what happens if I take this stick, or even a bone, and thwack it now against there? See, I'm thwacking it against there, and I'm kind of getting some tones that I can manipulate. What would happen if I tried that with a leaf? Now, the leaf he was using in the video was a large, like, palm frond or something tropical. Here in Kansas, we don't have any tropical plants with giant leaves I can use. Here's just a gladius leaf from the neighbor's garden, borrowed. Let's see if I can make some noise thwacking either a bone, or this is actually a stick against a leaf. That's actually better. Now, I do not know if gladius leaves are toxic or not, so careful what leaves you put in your mouth. Now here, since I don't have large rainforest plants here in Kansas, I made my own leaf. I took a piece of cardboard and I rolled it similar to the leaf that he had. Now I'm going to take this stick. It's curved a little bit so I can rest it against there. Let's put this in the corner of my mouth, see if we can make any sound. So I can kind of make some sound off that. I think I was actually getting better sound off thwacking it on a wood block. So yeah, I really like that. Thank you so much to @Elanitha for commenting this wonderful comment of the story of how the jaw harp came about in their folk tales. So if anyone out there has any information, any folk tales, any oral tradition, or any written things about the proposed origin of the jaw harp, comment them below, because I think that we should discuss them, because like that was such a good comment, banging on a fishbone to make a musical sound. And I would imagine the earliest jaw harps came from a simple concept of somebody twanging on something to make a musical sound, which could have led to the cutting of bone to make vibrating parts. So yeah, I love that so much. So I hope that people out there can shed some more light on this, because I think these things are deserved worth talking about, even if we're not historians or authority figures on the harp. I think the more information, especially that people can comment and we can get out there about oral legend and oral tradition of jaw harp and the origin, because these things go back way, 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 way far into history, is my hypothesis. We know that they go back at least 3,000 years ago in Russia. I've had some comments of people saying they go back 1,500 or more years in India, maybe even further. And even in Papua New Guinea, where people were said to arrive there an estimated 50 to 60,000 years ago, we have a version of this instrument. This is a susap from Papua New Guinea. What it is it's a piece of bamboo that's been carved. This one's by Steve Kinwald, but this is a Papua New Guinea design. It's been carved, and you see this long tongue has been cut out and a string tied to it. And instead of plucking or thwacking it, there's a string tied to it, and it's used like a fulcrum, and you let it bounce against your thumb, and it's placed against the mouth. It's vibrating not unlike how I would imagine a piece of properly cured bone might vibrate. Now we go on over to Indonesia. Look at this. This is an Indonesian karinding. And instead of it being plucked like kubing and gogona, this one has a tongue cut out of the middle and some fancy cutouts with some weighting system here. It's a very fancy carving. This is by Abba Adon. And it is thwacked on the end. It's tapped on the end. That causes that reed or tongue to vibrate, and it's played in front of the mouth. And so those are just so cool of instruments, and just in thinking, maybe Elanitha's comment of the folk stories of the jaw harp going back to thwacking on fish bones could be, you know, how the concept of the jaw harp was come up with. But what I also would like to know is, did the jaw harp come up in just one place at one time and then spread out from there? Or did people discover it by mutual discovery? People like to make music. They like to make rhythms. And there are many things in our environment that vibrate. Sticks, bones, bamboo, all sorts of things. So like the Susap, where people went there 50 to 60,000 years ago, did they take this technology with them? Or did they just discover it on their own? Because things like flutes, drums, jaw harps, mouth bows, mouth resonated musical instruments, are those something that people are just bound to come up with because we're drawn to music and we have things in our environment and our mouth is a natural resonator? So you can just thwack things in front of it and at least make some sound. Now, thwacking a stick or thwacking just a fishbone alone isn't going to produce the level of sound that putting it against a wood block or making intricate carvings out of bone, bamboo, palm. I don't know, but yeah, that was so cool. And please, anyone who's out there, comment below. What do you think? What are your oral legends, oral traditions? Anyways, that was a good ramble. I love a good ramble. I've been wanting to do a just freeform video for a while. Anyways, I love y'all. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more harpery. Make sure to keep your harps clean. Keep them dry. Keep them oiled. But most of all, be good to each other. I love y'all. Harp out. And I'll end playing a gogona from a psalm. Harp out. Harp out!